Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're the guys from Gen X. It came from Gen X is our show. Uh, -1 today. What's up with that?
All we heard is that he found a place where it would fit. That's all he said.
Ah,
That's all he said. So if you're not sure what we're talking about, you can read a lot into that statement, but go back and listen to a couple episodes, and you'll get the idea. So that's it. That's all he said. That was like
well, folks.
that was like 10 hours ago, I think.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
folks, I'm Michael Skinner alongside Brian Fisher tonight. We are without our number three partner in crime, Keith Porter. All kidding aside, he had looks like he got tied up at work today and can't make it, but we'll miss him. But we'll hold the fort and move forward the best we can. How was your weekend? How was your week? It seems like it's been almost forever since we last recorded.
Yeah, it's been a little while. So we're shooting this on Thursday. We normally shoot on Monday. I
Right.
know you had some family, nice family obligations, which I know you talk about, but
Yep.
yeah, and we'll get more into this as well. But the three of us went to see the Batman last Friday, so the
We did.
first weekend had a nice dinner together, saw the movie. So we'll wait for Keith to uh, talk more about the movie. And then Saturday, actually, I saw Keith again. He was playing out one of his bands called Mixed to Nuts here in the Northeast Ohio area. He was playing over in Barberton, Ohio, with another band, Stealing the Covers. So we'll give both of them a shout out.
Right.
Really, really good, a lot of fun. So Dean from the other show, Convincing Idiots, got to meet Keith for the first time, and he was very excited for that. And so
Oh,
the
nice.
podcast and friend worlds collided a little bit there. So that was a lot of fun, and had a good time watching some live music, and just kind of chilled out on Sunday. So, how was your weekend, sir? How are you?
I'm doing good. Busy weekend. We had, like I said, we went on Friday night to the movies, dinner and movies for basically it was our celebration for the 1 year of
Yes,
the
that's
show,
right.
which
Yep.
still hard to believe where we've come across and now gone beyond the first year of this particular show. Seems like yesterday we did the first pilot episode and we're like, what the hell are we doing? It was totally different from our football and the antics that we did on a football show. Not having Keith, or I'm sorry, not having Coach Cooper with us,
Yep.
had a different feel, different vibe. But here we are, 53 weeks later, we're into it and going strong. So we did something right, at least it seems. But
Well, some
on,
might argue the point, but
yeah,
at least
right,
we're having fun.
we
We're
are.
having fun.
Saturday was our mine and Marcy's anniversary, so we
Ah, congratulations.
thank you. So we ended up spending that with some longtime friends of ours that we hadn't seen in months. So she told me about 6 weeks ago, hey, we're going to go to dinner and play board games and this, that, and other on March 5th. And I'm like, don't want to go out for your anniversary, huh? But, and then as you can see in my background, I'm in a bit of a different place for recording tonight. We ended up having some water in our brand new basement.
Oh
Woke up
no. Oh my
woke up to
gosh.
that disaster yesterday morning. So we had
Oh no.
both took the day off, had the shop vac going, had the carpet cleaner going, ended up calling
Uh
Stanley Steamer. Their emergency extraction crew came out, ripped out the carpet and
oh.
padding, and the carpet's still there. It's
Hmm.
drying. We've got about 6 fans down there, and it's all propped up on milk crates and buckets and trying to get this in. We're trying to save the carpet because, as you know, it's only 4 weeks old or about four
Oh
months
my
old.
gosh.
And the hard part about all this, Brian, is it was self-inflicted.
Oh.
I had pulled the sump pump off because I needed the plug that it was plugged into for a moment of time, and this would have
Oh
been on
no.
Tuesday, and went to bed and forgot to plug the sump pump back in.
Oh.
So if the water isn't going into the well for the sump pump to pull it out of the well and take it out to the street, there's only one place it can go, and unfortunately, it was on our brand new carpet. So
Oh gosh. That's
lessons
so sorry.
lessons learned, but it is what it is. So we're displaced for probably another week. We're sleeping on the couch in the family room, and nice thing is we're going to Niagara Falls on the weekend, so we'll have a comfortable bed for a couple nights. But
Yeah.
anyways, enough about that. We're here, so I'm in my new
Mm.
studio, or my old studio, I guess you didn't call it, where we started the show here, and we just move forward. So, with that, Fish, can you tell our audience where they can find us?
Yeah, absolutely. You might be listening to us on WMVU.org, Global Internet Radio, Mondays from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Just pull up their site, listen to their live streaming, and you catch a recording of the show there. Also, there are the fine content, other shows, and music, and all that good stuff. You can listen to us whenever you want to on demand. We can be found on many major podcast platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Verbal, Stitcher, Overcast, many more. Just to pull up your place of preference, give us a subscribe, and as we publish new shows, they'll pop in there for you. Listen to them free of charge. You can also listen to our show right on our Facebook page at It Came From GenX, all one word. Give our page a like, and you can subscribe to our podcast right there on the page. Again, nothing to log into, just push subscribe, and as we post episodes, they'll pop up in your Facebook feed as well. Uh, Links to all our social media: YouTube, where we post all our videos, uh, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. We found the two main areas. Our Linktree account, just Google Linktree, Link tree. It came from Gen X. Just simply a platform to all links to all of our stuff. Very simple. Or our website. It came from GenX, one word, .wordpress.com. If you go one place, go there. Pull up the site. We have links to all new episodes, promos, videos, bios, ways to help the show with our Patreon page. If you wish to throw us a couple bucks, help Skinner get some new towels or something like that for the
Yeah,
basement.
right.
Um, but yeah, so we appreciate your support out there. If you like our stuff, give us a subscribe, a follow, a rating, review, a share, all that good stuff. We greatly appreciate your support. And we continue to see a little bit more listens out there in Germany, so and in other places across the globe. So thank you for that. And Skinner, we had a listen from Russia. So like to believe,
Really?
yes, that's a new country. Never popped in our um, uh, analytics before. So
Okay.
hey, if you're out there in Russia and you're listening a little bit here, and you have a lot going on, and obviously between your country and Ukraine's conflict, so God bless everybody. And if you're standing up to the government or whatever you're doing, hey, we wish you the very best. If you're out
Ab-
there listening across the world, certainly. So, uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, our hearts continue to be with the folks in Ukraine and those in Russia protesting this craziness that we're all living through here. So, anyway, that's what I got. That's what I got, Skinner. What do you got in the speaking of world news and all that? What do you got in the in world news, sir?
Yeah, we got some local stuff here in the United States, and we're going to talk a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about the Russia conflict and
Sure.
what it's going to stand for. Real quick, we might have a little bit of some merchandise opportunities for those of you out there that do listen. And if you're interested, get a hold of us on our Facebook page or through Facebook, on our YouTube page,
Or
our
emailing us.
website,
It came from genx330 at gmail.com. You can get that on our page as well. Absolutely.
that as well. Um, she's doing a little bit different with our logo, going to make it a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it's going to a little bit more predominant. And if we decide to do that, we can look at doing other things as well. So
Great.
that opportunity's out there. I know you ordered a couple more shirts, Brian. Appreciate it. Lorraine is
Mm-hmm.
her name. That's handling it for us. She appreciates the business, and maybe we can get something linked up on our website. But at that point, it's just kind of a temporary thing. But certainly reach out to myself or Brian Fisher or Keith Porter if you guys want shirts. Uh, any bit, a little bit of publicity out there in the public to put our name out there, we certainly
Sure,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
So, all right, so let's do some world news, and we're going to stay in the U.S. for the first one. Let me pull this up here. I saw this on social media a couple days ago, and it absolutely, my first thought was to chuckle. My second thought was, what the hell is this guy doing? His name is Michael Hosinski. He's a teacher of 40 years
Mm.
in the state of Indiana. He sent a kid out of his room during class because he had a hoodie on and he decided to put the hood on. Well, I guess in the bylaws of the schools, it's not allowed unless it's on Spirit Day or some other crap. But he sent the guy out, but then he proceeded to chase this kid down the hallway. And there is video of this guy taking a shot, hitting the kid across the face, and actually bouncing the kid's head off the concrete. It's it's kind of a vicious hit if you look at it at first. And like I said, the first thing I made the joke that he slapped the silly out of this kid, and then I realized, wait a minute, he did more than just slap this kid. He bounced his head off that car, and then he grabbed him by the arm and he basically drugged the kid down. And then the kid's just sitting there holding his head. Must have had an instant headache. Anyway, he was charged, or he's being charged with battery,
Mm.
and he petitioned his uh, employer to allow him to retire early. He was scheduled to retire in June of 2022, and they are allowing him to retire with full benefits.
Wow.
Mixed feelings. He's got 40 years. I guess he's never had a problem up until now, so you can't judge one incident on his entire career. But boy, this one incident, in my opinion, is a pretty heavy duty one. Have you seen the video
I have
that
not
I'm
seen it. I
referring
saw
to?
no, I saw the headline, but I'll have to check that out.
Okay. Yeah, I got the story off of CNN. It's actually I somebody sent it to me through TikTok, and I think it's actually on Facebook Reels as well. If you just look up Indiana teacher,
Mm.
uh, it pops right up. But anyway, so I want to do a real quick Gen X spin on that. If you recall back when we were growing up, you didn't have teachers slapping kids across the face. They'd grab you by the elbow, and if they want your attention, they're going to grab you by the elbow, and they'll do kind of a stern thing. Or in discipline that we got back then was the big old paddle. Remember that big old wooden paddle?
Oh
And
yeah. Yep.
the ones that really enjoyed doing that, they put the little holes in that paddle so that it had a little less wind resistance. That's how we were disciplined in school. Right or wrong or different, that's what we grew up with. And we knew if we screwed up, the consequences were going to be we were going to get paddled. So, your thought on the story, your thought on the paddling that we received when we were kids, was it effective? Was it not? We may have talked about this in the past, but this story just brings it back up and shoots memories to me back when we were growing up.
Yeah. First of all, with this guy, the teacher, I mean, you know, I don't know if I mean it's real shame all the way around. Certainly, it's hopefully this kid's okay. And the fact
Yeah,
that
me
you lose
too.
it like that, I mean, if he's very fortunate that the school system allowed him to retire early because really he should have been fired immediately and that's it. So it
Right.
just sounds completely uncalled for. You don't raise your hand to a kid like that. It's just ridiculous. And um, so, with the paddling stuff there, I mean, I got two SWATs in my time. One wasn't great. It was literally my last day of grade school. So I didn't get any SWATs for my entire grade school, which at the time was first to sixth grade. I don't know if it's any
Hmm.
different now, but the very last day of grade school, we got in a little pebble fight in the playground, and all of us got SWATs for it. I'm thinking you got to be out of here. And then I got one SWAT in middle school. It just it's a strange experience. I mean, in our time, I don't know about you, but my dad definitely believed in paddling with
Hmm.
his bare hand, basically. So he would swat my butt as a
Hmm.
kid, and but to have that it was a very strange experience that he had another adult with it, like you said, it was those huge, just ridiculous, like cartoon paddles
Right.
and you'd have to bend over and yeah, grab your ankles and all this. It was a whole ritual,
And
weird
hope to
thing.
hell that they hit you on the ass and not on the thigh.
Yeah, it was like that whole scene from Animal House with Kevin Bacon and
Oh
the
yeah,
initiation for the frat. Just so
right.
weird. And did it scare any? It probably intimidated some kids and all that, but it was just it's just a weird thing. I don't know that it made me any better of a student because of the threat of punishment by getting hit with a panel. I don't know. I don't think it
No,
was
but
effective. I don't
it
know,
probably made
but
you think twice though about getting in trouble. I don't
I
know if it
I
necessarily scared you, but
I guess, but I wasn't looking to get in trouble anyway. You know what I mean? So
right.
that was just me. You know why I didn't want to get in trouble? Because I didn't want to go home to my dad. That's
Yeah,
why,
because you're
right?
getting it
So
worse with dad. I get it.
that it wasn't because of the paddling with dad. It was just that I respected my parents. I did not want
Right,
dad angry with me, and at the end of the day, that's where it starts. That's where it still is,
right. Starts with the parents
right?
at home.
So that whole I'm glad they got rid of that over time. And like I said, it's just too bad with this incident here. Teachers should not. Those days are the past.
No,
It's
unless a teacher is, and it's a very fine line. If they are fearing their lives or defending themselves in
sure,
fear of their lives, that's one thing.
sure,
But another thing for a kid as trivial as a damn hood over his head and then
right.
chase him down the hallway after you disciplined him already in front of the classroom by sending him away, and then you chase him down the hallway and you smack him up beside the head so far that you cause a bloody nose and you bounce the back of his head off the concrete
Mm,
wall. So yeah,
same.
it's terrible. So hope the kid is okay. You know,
Yep.
I hope the story goes away and people learn from it because certainly it's not good. So
Absolutely not.
my second story pertains to the Russian conflict and its ramifications to space exploration.
Hmm.
Um, as you know, the International Space Station, and we always talk about the Russian juggernauts. It's Russia, Japan, China, the U.S., and I know I'm missing somebody. Great Britain are the five big countries that deal with space exploration, and Russia's putting a kink in the armor with all this. Unfortunately, I think China is probably the in the back pocket of Russia, but the other three countries that we're talking about, Japan, Great Britain, U.S., we're allies together,
Hmm.
and definitely there's a lot going on with the conflict. So on March 2nd, Russia took the Ariane space vehicle that had 3 dozen OneWeb satellites. And it took this thing hostage out on the tarmac, ready to shoot these satellites up into space, but put a halt on it because of the conflict. And what they did is they're basically holding it hostage. They're asking that let me rephrase, the OneWeb company is from Great Britain,
Hmm.
and they rent the tarmac or they rent the space or the rockets from the Russians to get their stuff up into space because they don't have their own program. And Russia has put in some conditions in order for them to do this. One is that the Great
Hmm.
Britain cannot use any of the satellites for military purposes. And number two is they wanted to invest in this British-based company. They're offering like 550 some million to take major stakes into that company, and Great Britain's saying, pound salt. We're not, this ain't doing it. So they've taken away these satellites. So now they got 3 dozen satellites. You figure they're a couple $1 million a piece, just sitting there. No, Great Britain's not knowing what's going to happen with that. Uh, Up there currently on the International Space Station is astronaut Mark Van Hyde. He is scheduled to come home here soon after being up there in 6 months, and he's supposed to come home in a um, Russian capsule. As of yet, Russia hasn't said his seat's been canceled, based on Americans and their disliking of what Russia's doing. So he temporarily has a home or a seat to come home. But what happens if Russia says, you guys are against us? You can't, he can't get back. What then? So then you got Elon Musk that's in the back of all this with his, and everything going on. Um, the United States and NASA are supposed to have two capsules. One through one's supposed to be made through SpaceX with Elon Musk, and another one was supposed to have been done through the company Boeing. You're familiar with Boeing with the
Hmm.
jetliners, the commercial aircraft. Everything they've done has failed to this point on trying to get these capsules to go into space or to be able to travel back. Things have gone so bad for Boeing that they haven't even gotten a test flight yet in the making because they keep running into problem after problem after problem. So that limits the U.S., Great Britain, Japan. It limits everything that we've got going on in the space exploration. If we have to count on Russia for their engines, because they're the number one rocket engine producer in the world, what happens if this thing drags on? There's a lot of things stemming from this stupid, I keep saying it again, dastardly thing that Putin's doing by trying to take over another country. And it doesn't just affect the Ukrainians. This is affecting the entire planet. And I don't
Sure.
understand why he doesn't see this. Are you familiar with what, a little bit what I've talked about, or, with Russia being one of the big producers of um, the rockets and the fuel, the engines, and we count on Russia a lot for the space program since NASA's not actively doing it themselves right now.
Hmm. No, I wasn't familiar with that story, and it's like you say, it's we're going to continue to see ramifications from this conflict in areas that we just don't think of normally,
Hmm.
right? So yeah, like you said, you normally think about just the two countries that's actively involved, but with the sanctions and all the other things that United countries are trying to do to hurt the country to encourage Putin to stop. Obviously, he's going to counteract with whatever he has control over, and
Hmm.
it's just a real shame. And it's just unfortunate. So many people suffer as a result. Obviously, you got people literally suffering and dying in Ukraine,
Yep.
Russian soldiers and Ukrainian civilians and soldiers and the like. And then obviously all these things that impacts people's livelihoods and uh, uh, being able to advance mankind perhaps by
Hmm.
continuing these space programs and everything. It's just I don't know, man. It's a real shame. I feel like it's probably going to go on for some time, I mean, probably several months at the very least.
And
So I don't
I,
know.
I certainly hope not because I feel for the Russian people that are telling, they're out there um, trying to be a voice, trying to demonstrate that they don't want to be a part of this. This isn't
Right.
them. This isn't their country. But you've got one person who runs everything, and I feel for the Russian people that are totally against this. And there's probably a lot of army, the Russian army
Sure.
and military that don't want to be a part of this because they're losing lives just as much as the Ukrainians are. So, anyways, our hearts and our prayers go out once again to the folks of the Ukraine, the men and women in Russia, to the United States, and all of our military and allies that are in the area, going to the area. We've got a close, an army person in our close knit group. You
Yes,
know who I'm
that's right.
referring to.
Hmm.
Thank goodness he's still here in the United States, but they're just waiting for the call, and I hope that it doesn't come for him.
Yeah,
Um, he's such a good kid, such a great family man. Loves his wife, loves his family. I sure as hate to see him get into harm's way in any capacity.
absolutely.
Um, but certainly am proud of his service to the military and to his country. But okay, so moving on. With Keith not here, we've got to split up a little bit of his normal responsibilities. Um, Actually, a little bit going on in sports
Yes,
over the
indeed.
last 10 days.
Big
Um,
news.
the big one was yesterday. Well, let's start with the big one today. Uh, the Owners and Players Association for Major League Baseball finally got their foot out of their asses
Hmm.
and got this thing done.
Hmm.
I mean, you know me, I'm a huge baseball fanatic and have been since day one. I grew up on baseball as and football were my two primary sports in my household. And baseball's been my passion since day one. It's a black eye, I'm not going to lie. It's a huge black eye in the Major League Baseball scene with them locking out because of money,
Hmm.
revenue sharing, this, that, and another. I didn't catch into too much of what the particulars were because I was pissed off that there was a stoppage to begin with. But I understand they were looking out for the little guys, those coming in. They wanted the salaries to raise a little bit, but I'm a big proponent on they need a salary cap in baseball, and they still don't have it, and that's a
Right.
huge problem. You've got your big markets, New York, L.A., um,
Boston.
Boston. I'm trying to think some of the other ones that just put out money hands over fist. Houston had a huge payroll there for a while.
Yep.
Um, Continue, and I know not always money doesn't always buy championships, but if you look over the years with the New York Yankees, 27 championships, really, and how many of those were bought?
Hmm.
Probably 90% of them, truthfully. Now, they've only had a couple over the last 2 decades, which I'm not sorry, I'm not disappointed about. Being a Cleveland Indians fan, I'm sorry, a Cleveland Guardians fan. That's, but yeah, big news today that they're going to, from what I understand, they're going to still do 162 games.
Yep. That's right.
Um, it's going to be 3 weeks late. They're going to start on April 15th instead of March 30th.
Hmm.
There's 4 series of games that are going to have to be made up, and they're going to be made up with 9 inning doubleheaders. So I think the Cleveland opened up against Kansas City, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not sure.
But you know, first 3 games of the season, there's going to be 3 doubleheaders playing 9 inning games. That's going to take a toll on teams if they unless they split this up over the entire 6 months of baseball and
Hmm.
not try to make all this up in the first half of the season, which I hope they don't. I really hope that they break this up over the series. What's your thoughts on the baseball and they're finally getting their heads out of their asses?
Well, certainly from a fan's perspective, it's a good thing. I'm more of a fringe fan myself. I'm not an avid fan like you are. I might
Mm.
see a couple games here and there. Frankly, it might be on the background every so often. Maybe go to a game. I do like to go to the minor league team we have here in Akron, the Rubber Ducks.
Hmm.
That's fun and affordable and everything like that. But
It's a fun
uh,
experience.
yeah, definitely. So just from a tradition and a fan's perspective, I'm glad that they got it together, and I'm glad they're going to have a full season. Like you say, it is risky for players. You hope the guys don't get hurt. It's out there too much. It's a cram a bunch of games in and all that. Frankly, around the Cleveland area here where we are, it's you know from a weather perspective, it's actually probably a good thing for many fans because a lot of
Right.
opening days it's cold and sometimes literally snowing still here when they
Hmm.
start to play baseball. But yeah, I'm glad they did. But yeah, it's millionaires versus billionaires, and I just don't get it. And I baseball's already, you already mentioned it here. It I lose interest most years, unless your local team is lucky enough to make a run at something where you've built up some local talent in your own
Hmm.
farm system, typically, as Cleveland has done a few times, and they bring in a couple of guys they can afford and make a run. But they just can't do it consistently. And as you know, it's typically going to wind up to be the same three, four, five teams at the end of the day. They're going to buy they're going to suck up some players at the end of the season that other teams are going to have to wind up selling because they can't
Can't
keep up,
afford. Hmm.
and then you get another World Series of L.A. or San Francisco versus New York or Boston or somebody else, and it just it gets rather boring to me
Hmm.
in that respect. But anyway, like I said, I'm glad they figured it out and they're giving the fans a full season and they got it together. At least they had enough sense to, if they had locked out half, big chunk of the season or canceled another season or canceled another World Series like they did in '94 because of labor negotiations and all that, it might be real hard for baseball to come back strong for several years. So
Hmm.
I think since they're getting a full season in, it's probably going to blow over and once they get playing again. But they just got to be careful with that stuff because your product is already not quite the best. You're not drawing in a lot of new fans with the product you're putting out there with long games, boring most of the time, the same few teams unless you happen to live
Hmm.
in those markets. If those of us here in Cleveland or other small markets, like I said, it might be, as we know, it might be another 10, 15 years before they can build up and make another run at the World Series.
Right.
So I don't know. What do you
I
think?
I got you. Yeah, it's just kind of the same thing. Today's day and age with COVID shut down 2 years ago, with a shortened season last year, everything, the COVID, everybody's coming down off of COVID, and we're still not sure how things are going to be here in the future going up.
Hmm.
Um, Basketball's doing pretty well. Football had a great season. We had an incredible football playoffs from start to finish in the NFL. Probably the best
Yeah,
that I've ever
yeah,
that I remember of all time.
absolutely,
Every game, and then you got baseball saying, "Oh, we're going to argue and squabble over freaking money."
exactly.
A league that doesn't have a salary cap to begin with, a league that
Hmm.
doesn't have parity, which it needs.
Yes.
Um, I think they're going to struggle a little bit. Like you said, you probably think it's going to blow over. Me as a fan, I'm one person. I'm going to say, okay, I'm probably not going to go to a game in the beginning of the season just to show that I'm pissed off. But I'm also the same fan that's got the radio on behind me with the Indians playing, or I'm sorry,
Hmm.
the Guardians playing, because I don't miss a game. If I don't have to watch it, but you bet your ass it's on the radio that I'm listening to it. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I got mixed feelings. Angry that they did this. Angry that they did it at this time, and with everything surrounding the United States and what's going on around the world, this was not the time to squabble over the money. So, anyways, moving on real quick. In the NFL, there were two huge announcements.
Oh yeah.
One quarterback is moving and the other one's staying.
Hmm.
Let's start with the one that's staying, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Who saw this coming that he's staying in Green Bay, signed a 4-year extension for $200 million. That's mind-boggling. The amount of
Yeah.
money that this man just received.
Richest contract in is it sports history or at least NFL history? Because it's a
It's
hundred and
NFL
some
history.
50. Okay,
Yeah.
150 some million guaranteed, which is
Yeah,
astounding.
153, 154. We both of us were kind of thinking it was right around that range that he made guaranteed money, whether he
Hmm.
plays it down or not. That is incredible.
That's a lot of immunizations, Skinner, right there. You get a lot of immunizations with that money.
That's a lot of fake P tests there too,
That's
right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I love him as a quarterback. It's kind of funny that this happened the year after Tom Brady declared that he's retiring. Is that a coincidence? Or is there something to that? Because that's the first thing I thought of when I heard about it. The initial shock that they signed him, and then that thought comes to me: is this because Brady retired? Is why this happened?
Well, I'm
Does it have
sure.
anything to do with it?
I'm sure it's a factor. I mean, if you got to figure if you're the Green Bay ownership, I mean, you probably step back and say, okay, what are our options? Who is out there? I mean, you do have maybe the option to get Russell Wilson in there. He's probably the next best free agent that's out there. You're not going to take his chance with Deshaun Watson, too messy
Yeah.
with all the legal things and everything else. Yeah, the other kid that you drafted, he's not ready yet. You got the talent around it. You're going to figure you got another couple years to make a real run with the talent that you got.
Hmm.
Uh, lock him up, keep his mouth shut, and certainly they made a that commitment to him. He's got to be that one of the happiest guys on the earth right now
Oh,
with
sure.
all that money, and
Right.
he's wanted. And in some respects, I'm glad it's done because we don't have to fucking hear about it. You know what
I
I mean?
agree.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about where Aaron Rodgers is going. Like last year, I didn't want to hear about Dak Prescott's stupid contract. I don't want to hear that crap.
Right.
So I'm glad it's done, and you know, good luck to you. But certainly his track record is not the best in the playoffs. But like I said, compared to the other options out there, he's definitely
He's the
one of
best
the
of the
best
group.
options that you got. So
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when he was behind Brett Favre. I mean, you had two, either one of those guys at that time could jump right in. And you knew when Aaron Rodgers first started, if you think back to the beginning of his career, he thought he was going to be a special kid.
hmm
And yeah, like you said, he's got a ring, but his pedigree in the playoffs isn't the greatest. He's not one of the elite um, when it comes to playoff pedigree, but he is one of the
hmm
elite quarterbacks of all time overall regular season. So
sure.
I agree with you. We don't have to go this entire offseason wondering where the hell Aaron Rodgers is going. Is he staying? Is he going? What kind of money he's getting? They put it to bed, and this is even before the draft. So now that Green Bay can concentrate on the draft to get what they
Yep.
need to get further in the playoffs than they did this year. And I think one key guy on the offense and maybe a couple on the defense, and I think that's where they're at. Two or three players shy of really being able to take it all. So
They'll be in the
good for
thick of it.
them.
Yeah, they'll be in the thick of it. The NFC certainly is probably an easier road to the Super Bowl than the AFC. So
Absolutely.
they'll be right there again, without a
Yeah.
doubt. So we'll see.
So the other person we was talking about, you mentioned him, Russell Wilson got dealt from Seattle to Denver.
hmm
Didn't see this one coming either. Don't
No.
have the particulars, and I apologize, folks, that we're even talking about it without being completely up to date. But Russell Wilson is going to Denver. They traded him and a couple other guys to Denver for what I read as quote unquote a buttload of draft picks
Yes.
and a couple veterans
hmm
that went to Seattle from Denver. So didn't see it coming. I know Denver's on the cusp was trying to make something big. They've gotten a couple key acquisitions over the last couple years. Had
Yep.
a good year this year. They were one of those teams you didn't want to play on any given Sunday. Their record didn't really show it, but they are a decent team.
hmm
And after what we witnessed with the Rams this year and what they did, I mean the blueprint's right there. You mentioned that before the show started. We were getting ready to go on the air. The blueprint's there with what the Rams did. It does smell a little bit like what the Rams did. What do you think?
Sure. It's seems to be completely the same thing. You're right. I mean, these teams are looking at. Listen, we've got the it's good a talent around here as we can muster up, and we are a one big name player away, typically a quarterback or something. And you saw exactly what the Rams gambled on to bring in Stafford, and it worked. I mean, it paid off for them in
Mm-hmm.
a Super Bowl championship. Uh, once that team falls off, they're going to get back into rebuild mode. And Denver's, stood around, looked at the exact same thing. So Elway said, "Listen, they're almost in the exact same boat. They have good talent around there. They get good offense, good decent defense. Like you said, they got key players. They were just that quarterback away, and Wilson's got a solid to 2, 3, 4 years in him.
If
He's
he stays
still a
healthy,
talent.
I think he's still got some left in the tank if he stays healthy.
Yeah, I mean he's certainly. I mean he's a better option than lock that they had in there. I mean, the kid's is still young and he's finding his way. And he's one of the kids that they dealt out of there. So,
Right.
yeah, I think you'll see maybe more of this. It's just, I mean, you figure we can continue to get 8-8, 9-7 records with good talent without the big time quarterback to take us to another level and do
Hmm.
okay and maybe get in the playoffs, but not really make a serious run at a championship or cash it in, you know, throw your cards on the table and see what happens and, give yourself the best chance to win. And maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, and you go back in rebuild mode, which you're probably going to do in a couple of years anyway. So,
Right.
why not? Why not? So, I think you'll see more of that.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, that's all I got for sports. A lot happened, and it really just happened over the last couple of days. Real quick, the college basketball is going to be in the limelight here for the next couple of
Oh
weeks. They're
yes.
they're in conference tournaments right now. I know our Ohio State Buckeyes are playing against Penn State tonight. Um, so we'll interested to see how the tournament's going to shake out, where everybody goes. But other than that, pretty quiet in sports. What do you got in music, Fish?
I'm looking at this day at music here. There's not a. I was leafing through this a little bit earlier. So we're shooting this on March the 10th. Um, Simon and Garfunkel recorded. They released the song "Our Song." Not the song, excuse me. They released "Our Song." It's a record, so I think it was their first album back
Okay.
in 1958. Certainly became
Wow, that's
a,
hard to
a
believe.
huge hit, and also on this very same day in 1964, Simon and Garfunkel made another headline recording "The Sounds of Silence." So again, a little bit before our time. Definitely know we know the
Was.
song growing up as young kids and everything. In 1988, the Andy Gibb, the younger brother of the Bee Gees, who was
Mm-hmm.
really starting to make a name for his own in the late 70s and early 80s, uh, passed away from inflammation of the heart, followed by a long battle with coke addiction. So that was a real shame in the
Sure
Gibb
was.
family. Um, let's see. Ah, in 2003, the Dixie Chicks made a lot of headlines here by saying that the band was ashamed of the president of the United States. That no, excuse me, ashamed that the president of the United States is from Texas. And they made the comment about President Bush, and certainly that did not go over too well in the with country fans, and they took quite a hit from that for
Mm-hmm.
I think quite a while. It took them to recover from that controversial comment.
Who knew that
And
cancel culture started back then, and they were the brunt of it. Yeah, that was real quick before you move on with. I
uh,
remember when that happened. I'm not a big Dixie Chicks fan to begin with,
mhm.
but when those what I call spoiled, overpaid brats made those comments about the president, whether you like them or hate them, that is not your platform or your place to say what you said, and you deservedly got what was received. So, but I remember that like it was yesterday.
And let's see, birthdays this day, March the 10th here. A couple that we know. Edie Brickell from Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians
Yep.
was born this day in. I'm sorry, I just passed it here. Edie was born in 1966, so just a couple years older than us.
Hmm.
And Carrie Underwood, huge country sensation, was born this day in 1983.
No kidding. Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
still a young one here. So, yeah, that's what I got in the world of music. Nothing super significant that I saw and look at that. However, we do have quite a lot in the world of pop culture happening here. So, why don't we we move over to that?
Okay.
So current stuff. Now, again, as we already mentioned at the beginning of the show, we saw the Batman last week. We're going to save our thoughts on that when we get to Keith around because we know he definitely wants to weigh in on the Batman.
Right.
So I know we had sort of had mixed feelings about it, but we'll
His
talk more
review
about
kind of
that.
surprised me, to be truthful.
Yeah, I think he
His
came back
initial
around.
thoughts.
Yeah, I think he was comparing it a lot to the older stuff. But anyway, we'll let him speak to that a little bit.
Right.
New show debuted that ties to our generation for sure. This past Monday on HBO Max, first show in the new series, Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty started. It's a 10 episode series. John C. Riley plays Dr. Jerry Buss, who bought the Lakers in the late 70s. And his very first draft pick was the great Irvin Magic Johnson.
That's
Uh,
right.
and then when he added him to the team that already had Kareem and Silk Wilkes at the time and Norm Nixon and they immediately went to championships and of course they built terrific teams throughout the 80s and the Lakers had the most between them and Boston. It was virtually every year of the decade. It was either
Yeah.
Boston or LA won the championship, and certainly Boston and LA played each other a few times. But the Lakers had the most championships in the 80s. They were definitely the team of the 80s overall. And it's just a fun take on that story. So it's funny. There's some. It's definitely based on true events, and I like what they do as well. They get like they narrate to you, so it's like John C. Reilly's talking to the camera. He's talking to you like this is what's going on here, and I'm about to do this or about to do that, and then he gets into the scene with the actor, and they play it all out, and he keeps talking. This is what's happening and everything. So I don't know. I thought it was a lot of fun. So if you're uh, a Lakers fan, you'll definitely enjoy it. Obviously, it's set in the '80s, so you're going to get all
Mhm.
the nostalgia from the '80s stuff and the great Lakers teams. Boston's going to play a role in it. The Celtics, and I thought it was well acted, just a lot of fun. So, have you seen it? Do you plan on watching it? What do you think about the Lakers show?
I haven't seen it. Not big on the Lakers, being from the
Yeah.
East Coast. I know that doesn't really shouldn't mean much. I've always been a Cavaliers fan when it comes to basketball. I haven't veered off. Now, I have to say that I was a huge Boston Celtics fan as well
Yep.
back in the 80s. The those teams that we grew up with, how can you not like them? And because they were
Right.
the East Coast version of the Lakers, I kind of veered towards them. But Magic Johnson, incredible talent, went to Michigan State, so we knew about him being from Big Ten country. We knew about him before, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, huge sensation all across. With that sky hook of his. Jerry Buss was he's a big character with a big ego, so everybody knew about him. I haven't seen it. Don't know if I'm probably gonna have to watch it just because it's gonna take me back to the Lakers, Celtics days, 80s nostalgia, like you were referring
Yep.
to.
Watch the first episode. I bet you get hooked.
Okay.
Just John C. Riley is good anyway, and about anything he
Hmm.
does, in my opinion. It's just it if the first episode doesn't hook you in, I doubt you get reeled into it. But just
Okay.
his presence alone, and it's interesting to get the backstory of he had to scrape together money to buy the team. I mean,
Right.
the guy wanted a lot of money in cash, and he had to kind of finagle that money to do it, and he was dedicated to do it. The NBA league was, you know, not doing well at the time, and all this and that and the other. So, yeah. Anyway, check it out. You
I'll
I'm
do
sure you'll
that.
get hooked on it. Yeah. Okay. Uh, what else here? Big in the pot. We had a huge trailer. Skinner hit this week.
Yep.
The Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer hit for Disney Plus. So Ewan McGregor comes back to reprise the role of Ben Kenobi, and this new
Can I
series
say
will
I'm
launch. Go ahead,
can I say
please.
I'm very happy for that? Real
I
happy that
loved him in
he's
that
doing
role.
it. Yes,
Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah, he was terrific in that, and I'm sure if Sir Alec Guinness was alive, he would be happy that Ewan McGregor played a younger version of him. He was
Right.
awesome. He was probably the best thing, in my opinion, of the entire prequels was Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, flat
I
out.
agree. I agree.
So the series is set after he drops off infant Luke and Leia. Well, not Luke and Leia, infant Luke, excuse me, to
Hmm.
Owen and Beru on Tatooine, and he stays on Tatooine to watch over young Luke to make sure that no harm becomes of him, because obviously he knows of his Jedi powers. And
Right.
you never really knew that whole story with Ben. I mean, obviously he grew old on that planet. You don't know what all he got into, and
Yeah, they just dabbled it at the very beginning with him.
absolutely,
So
yeah. And you got Hayden Christensen coming back to reprise his role as young Darth Vader, and Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader. So it looks like they're going
I
to
didn't
clash
know
again.
that.
Oh
Okay.
yes, yep. So it just looks great. So I think that drops. Let's see, May
May
25th.
yeah, May 25th. I actually saw the trailer I think yesterday. And
Hmm.
I'm like, "Oh, it gave me a little bit of goosebumps. I'm not gonna lie, thinking it and it's gonna be a six or eight show series, which makes me happy too. So, um, if anything like The Mandalorian, um, and what they've done recently, um,
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett, yeah, Book of Boba Fett, this has got success written all over it. I hope.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Do you know who's written is what's his name that did both did the Mandalorian? John, what's his name? I'm sorry, folks. Anyway, they wrote and directed the show.
Yeah.
Um, is he in doing Obi-Wan as well?
I I
You know who
don't.
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm acting like a blubbering idiot, and I apologize, but I'm trying to remember what the guy, John LaFleur? No, is that it?
No. No. Let's get it here.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
because it's
okay.
driving me nuts trying to think of what his name is.
So John Favreau. We
Favreau,
could
that's
we
it.
could yeah we could picture his name. We just couldn't remember his
Yeah,
name. So yeah.
yep.
So I don't know if Favreau. Let's see here. Obi
Wonder if
Wan.
he's in on it or not. Because what he did with Mandalorian was sort of spectacular. So
Oh, absolutely. So let's see here. Uh, yeah, I will have to look it up more here because I don't see. Let's see here. McGregor's. To see that. I don't know. I'll have to research that further. I
okay,
mean,
yeah, we'll
Favreau is
talk.
certainly actively involved in most of the stuff here, with at least as a producer or some type of a consultant or something. We'll check that out, and
Yeah, we'll have to.
we'll talk about that more for sure. So
Yeah, it's
anyway, go ahead, please.
no. Please go ahead.
No, just so as Star Wars fans, we're certainly excited. It looks like it's going to be well done, well produced, and it looks like they're bringing another villain in from the Clone Wars still. So the guy they're showing another villain who they're trying to find the Jedi across the galaxy that escaped the Executive Order 666 or whatever that was, where they killed all the Jedi. So they're trying to find the remaining Jedi, and Obi-Wan is hiding out, obviously, on Tatooine. So get that whole dynamic as well. So
Gotcha.
and the same actor that played young Uncle Owen in the prequels comes back to reprise the role of Owen in this series as well. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, okay. And I did find it. It looks like
Go ahead.
he is not a part of this,
Okay. All
which
right.
was kind of surprising, but it's okay. I'm looking
All right.
forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of things look interesting coming out here. They're making a lot. Disney's going back to remake all their classics, live action movies.
Hmm.
They're making a live action Pinocchio movie, and Tom Hanks plays Geppetto. So there's some scenes
Okay.
of that now out there, and that comes out later this year. Um,
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be just on Disney Plus or what, but yeah, for me, you put Tom Hanks in a movie, I'm probably going to like it. I like him. He's
Yeah.
very versatile actor, and he's great in those type of whimsical type roles and everything.
Hmm.
So, and it's directed by the same guy who directed Hanks in other movies in the past, Castaway, and I think a couple of his big movies as well. So he comes back to work with Tom Hanks again. So some of those remakes, I'm like, I'm not really that interested, frankly. But this one has more appeal with Tom Hanks for me. So,
Yeah, I just looked up Tom Hanks real quick, and the first thing it does is first look at Tom Hanks as Geppetto. So pretty
mhm.
freaking cool. Now,
Yeah.
real
So
quick
go ahead.
before you move on from Disney, do you know or have you heard anything about the possibility of more of adult content on Disney Plus? Did you hear that?
I have not heard that.
I didn't really catch too much of it, but there's consideration of having more of the rated R
Hmm.
type movies. When I say adult entertainment, I'm not talking about triple, the pornography he's seen. Like, certainly you can't have a kid's Disney on one side and his pornography on the other. But it
Yep.
sounds like they're talking more of the NR-16, a rated 16 and over,
Okay.
the rated R's for 18 and over. Looks like they're going to try to dabble in a little bit. I don't know if they're trying to pick up more revenue, which God knows they don't need it any more than they already
I
have. But yeah, I don't know. I heard something about it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I I don't know. That's
You're
I guess
mixed
that's
on it, I see.
I mean if it's well produced and everything, go for it. I mean, they're certainly trying to compete with some of these other platforms, but
Hmm.
at the same token, Disney obviously owns such tremendous properties, and do they really need to get into that type of stuff? I'm not sure. There's plenty of options out there for more adult themed type content. Like we talked about. Maybe they're seeing like this Peacemaker, and they're seeing on HBO Max. It was very very good. We talked about that
Hmm.
last week in our Gen X Plus episode, which is out there. You got the boys, kind of Disney won't go to that level, certainly on Amazon Prime, but
Right.
these a little bit darker, more adult themed. Maybe if they get into something like that, perhaps. But they
Okay.
are doing some of that with, they're getting into Moon Knight. That's more of a harsher tone superhero. That's coming out
Hmm.
soon. I hear the Punisher is going to make a return, and so that maybe if they're talking about that type of stuff, then I'm for that. If not, just
Yeah.
stick with what you know.
Yep.
I don't
Just
know.
don't try to fix something that ain't broke. Is that what they always say?
That's about right. Exactly. Not unlike this podcast, because we're definitely still trying to fix it, if you will. But
Spinning those wheels. Yep.
I don't know. We'll keep trying. We'll keep trying. So that's a lot of the current stuff there. So we got a few minutes this week in pop culture history. A lot of stuff happened. So the week of March 7th through March the 10th, tons of stuff happened over the years. In 2011, March the 7th, Charlie Sheen was arrested, or not arrested, fired, from Two and a Half Men. So that was that whole era.
Wow, it's been that
I can't believe it
long.
was that long ago. Yeah. So,
Good Lord.
the whole Tiger Blood and winning,
Hmm.
and we was just watching him have a public meltdown
Meltdown.
of
Yeah.
addiction and everything. And yeah, it's been quite a while. I did look him up, by the way, and right now he's been sober for many years, living
Good.
a quiet life with his wife, and he said he's trying to develop a new show. So Charlie Sheen did get his life together, but back in 2011, it sure was quite the spectacle. Publicly, we had T-shirts of Tiger Blood and winning and all kinds of stuff. In the
Hashtag
world of
winning.
social, oh, absolutely, in the world of social media, that was quite the interesting story. We also had in 2010, on March the 7th, the first female director won an Oscar. So it took that long for a female director to finally win an Oscar. Uh, it was, let's see, it was for the movie. Hurt Locker.
which is a really good movie.
Yeah, and so let's see here. And let's see. She was actually had been married. It was up against Avatar for best, and James Cameron, who was up for
Mm-hmm.
Avatar. She was married to him and wound up defeating him in the Oscars.
Oh, good for her.
So it was the Catherine Bigelow. That's where she was. The first one to win an Academy Award for Best Director. March the 8th, Skinner, in 1993, we were introduced to Beavis and Butthead on MTV,
Oh my.
and they made it seems like it was earlier than that, but no, 1993. Uh, it a huge hit for MTV. As we know, the characters obviously very well. Two stupid, dumb kids sitting around watching videos and just morons.
Mm-hmm.
MTV, as we remember, would have clips, and shows where Beavis and Butthead would sit there and watch actual videos and make
Commentate
fun
on
of
them.
them.
Yeah.
Uh, they're a huge hit. They made a movie, definitely a pop culture thing with our generation. And announced recently they're making a new Beavis and Butthead movie that's going to air exclusively on Paramount Plus.
No kidding.
And yes, Paramount Plus is also going to. They're putting remastered episodes, old episodes out there. They're also doing a Futurama revival that's not tied to that, but Paramount Plus is trying to get some of our generational, cartoons, revive that stuff to try to get. I have to assume our age viewers and a little bit younger over to
Mm-hmm.
their platforms to pay their premiums and all that. So I was never a huge Beavis and Butthead fan. I thought it was kind of stupid. It was a little bit annoying for me. There were definitely some funny scenes, but
Mm-hmm.
not much of a fan. What was your take on Beavis and Butthead?
I remember when it came out because I was in the military. I remember it was my first wife, Tracy. We would be sitting there late at night. Uh, oh, we watched it before we went to bed. Yeah, it was stupid. Uh, it had some humor to it. I guess I enjoy some of that stupid humor, as I call it. I never saw the movie. Wasn't that big a fan that I went and watched the movie. Made a lot of money for MTV. It was a big, huge pop culture phenomenon.
Oh yeah,
The cornholio was a common phrase. They
yep.
had the Beavis and Butthead sound trailers. They had all the sounds and all the stupid, things that they would say and do. So, not surprised that they're trying to revive it to try to get the Gen Xers back engaged again.
Hmm.
All we have is The Simpsons and a couple of those other ones that have ran its course and can't believe that it's still on.
Yeah.
So I could see why they're bringing stuff like this back.
All right. I know we're getting short on time here. A
Yep.
few other things happen, but we'll get into stuff more later. But I'll give you one here. This was quite the old one, Skinner, but on March the 12th, so by the end of the week here, way back in 1899, Coca Cola was bottled for the very first time many years
Wow.
ago. I know you're a Coca Cola collector, so I figured I would
Hmm.
call that out for you. But yeah, long time ago, Coke was introduced to the world. So there you go.
Ever go and watch the autobiographies and the stories behind Coca-Cola and how it started? Pretty fascinating. How they started, where they came from. Then you get Pepsi in the picture, and you got those two big, huge companies going at it for many, many years, and still today. So, yeah, that's hard to believe. 1899 is when they got their start.
Yep, that's right. So,
So, all right, I
well,
think we're up against it. We
yep,
made it through a week without Keith Porter. How about that? So,
it's
have to ask him if it fit.
that's right. Absolutely, absolutely. Hopefully it did.
Hopefully,
Hopefully
it
it did.
did. So, for our missing comrade, Keith Porter, I am Michael Skinner and Brian Fisher. Uh, we hope you enjoyed the show this week, we will talk to you next week. Have a great weekend, folks.
Stay strong, Gen
Stay
X. Stay strong, Ukraine.
and out.